We have partnered with a world-renowned RF designer. They have looked at our network, they've looked at what's the most efficient placement and the best location for these towers. The design that we have is so solid.
Being able to place your network where you have designed your network means that the customer will have faster data, the customer will communicate better, which is ultimately what the goal should be.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Clico policyholders still demanding answers 6 years after the insurance company was liquidated. The Auditor General's scathing report on the Ingram administration's 52-week jobs program. The Prime Minister says only Baha Mar can answer questions about its opening date. Plus, the State Finance Minister denies government officials manipulated budget figures. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Monique Toot and NB12 starts now. Tonight, nearly 200 Clico Bahamas policyholders packed New Covenant Baptist Church last night to discuss the thousands of dollars they claim are still owed to them by the insurance company that was liquidated over 6 years ago. Policyholders and the loved ones of those who have died since the company went belly up are now threatening to hold a major protest. Kai Joaquin reports.
Because I had come here this evening hoping to encounter Mr. Alcides, who I taught at 4th grade in primary school. And he would have had to given me something to go to the funeral director to declare my beloved brother's name.
That's Catherine Rose, who says she's found herself paying for her brother's funeral out of pocket after he died. He was a Clico policyholder and she was the beneficiary. She says after his passing, she was given a letter indicating that his burial would be covered. However, she is still making payments for his funeral today and has reportedly already been threatened with court action by the funeral home. But Catherine's story is one among many being played out by holders left in limbo after the liquidation of Clico over 6 years ago. There were about 13,000 Bahamian policies when the liquidation order was handed down in February of 2009. Nearly 200 people, many of whom were Clico policyholders, met in New Covenant Baptist Church Tuesday night to discuss the thousands of dollars they are still owed. It was their opportunity to decide what they'll do next if they continue to get no answer from the government.
There should be regulations in place that companies like this cannot just come walk into the Bahamas and exploit the Bahamians the way we have been exploited. So they shouldn't be able to take out money like that.
We're talking about getting a percentage of the money that we're owed, but I'm talking about getting interest on the money that they owed me. It's been years. I was promised in 2009 that I would get my money. I said, you think I'm going to get this before Christmas? She said, oh good, you're going to get your money before Christmas. 2009.
When Clico collapsed, then Prime Minister Hubert Ingram urged Clico Bahamas policyholders to continue paying their premiums as the government sought to appropriately close out the insurer's operations. After the FNM's defeat at the polls in 2012, Prime Minister Perry Christie indicated that his government would honor the Ingram administration's $30 million guarantee for Clico policies. Fast forward to 2015, Christie said the government had not abandoned the matter after Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins challenged the government to fulfill its promises to the thousands of policyholders. Delano Davis says he's had his entire family's policies tied in Clico for over 13 years, and since its closure, he feels there's been no justice for anyone involved. And now he says he has nowhere else to turn.
Everybody got into the House of Assembly to protest, but it still remains in the Prime Minister or the government official hand for us to get our monies. And Mr. Prime Minister, if you're watching the TV or persons who could help us, we need justice. Because it's like our money just running. And I trying to run behind my money because I too far in. So please help the people, not just I, but help all the Bahamian people.
You know, the funny thing is that the day before Clico closed down, I called my wife and I said, wife, you need to get your money. When she went there on Friday, it was closed. Thursday, she was supposed to go there and get her money, but Friday she went there and it was closed. And I think that's what got me so angry, concerned that they had the money to give us, but they refused.
Bishop Simeon Hall is a Clico policyholder and a former member of the Clico Creditors Committee. He says, frankly, people are tired of waiting, and if there is no provision in the 2015-2016 budget, there will be a protest.
Some form of protest. We could write all of our MPs. We could find ways, and some people are calling for a march. I prefer to be more concrete than a march because sometimes they are futile, but I think we need to agitate strongly that we want our money.
State Minister for Finance Michael Alquita says, unfortunately, in the 2015-2016 budget, there are no provisions for the Clico policyholders. However, he said the government is working on it.
Not in this year's budget. We didn't put any provision here, and that would not be something that you would put in a budget. But it's something that we are mindful of. You know, people have been very patient. They've paid. You know, some people have continued to pay. We hope to be in a position very, very soon to propose a resolution.
Alquitas cannot say how soon the resolution would come, but he hopes it is before the end of the year. In December of 2013, the International Monetary Fund called on the government to urgently address the Clico situation by outlining the terms in a government guarantee. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Auditor General Terrence Bastian found that the external controls for the Ingram administration's 52-week jobs program were severely deficient and highly vulnerable to fraud. The 2013 report of the Auditor General, which was tabled in the House of Assembly today, covers the period between July 1st, 2012 and June 30th, 2013. In his examination of the program, the auditor discovered several questionable cases in the Family Islands, including a case where program participants were hired by companies without evidence that the businesses were properly licensed. According to the report, from the outset of the program, the insufficiency and absence of key controls created an environment highly vulnerable to the occurrence of fraud. It continued, we identified internal control weaknesses, including the Ministry of Finance did not undertake any on-site inspections of participating business entities to determine their legitimacy. They did not verify whether business entities enrolled in the program had a current business license or if their national insurance contributions were current. This exposed the possibility that some entities were operating illegally and uncollected revenue may be due to the government and the board. Bastian recommended that the appropriate action be taken to have that money collected. Despite meeting with officials from Baha Mar and China Construction America on several occasions in recent weeks, Prime Minister Perry Christie insisted today he does not know the opening date for the $3.5 billion resort, and only the developer can answer that question. The opening has been delayed 3 times already.
Having like an opening date for Baha Mar?
Only the Baha Mar people can tell you that.
The opening was originally set for December 2014, then March 2015, then the first week in May. Last month, Baha Mar CEO Sarkis Merlian informed staff that the property had canceled reservations and reassigned more than 1,000 employees from their original positions to jobs which needed doing within the resort. Questions about the new opening date come as the resort was hit by thieves. We understand plants are among the items that have been disappearing from Baha Mar. As a result, a perimeter fence that was removed weeks ago has now been erected once again. In other news, Minister of State for Finance Michael Alquita has dismissed as preposterous and irresponsible opposition claims that government is willfully engaged in the inappropriate manipulation of budget numbers to present a rosier picture of the country's finances.
I believe that I have to address and correct some of the more blatant misconceptions and false statements about the budget communication that have been put forth since last week. It says the budget includes some trickery and smoke and mirrors as far as the fiscal numbers are concerned. The government stated that its spending in 2014-2015 is lower than the level projected in last year's budget, but recurrent expenditure is actually $21 million higher. The budget is on a cash basis, so you can do that kind of trickery.
Halkitis slammed Free National Movement Deputy Leader Peter Turnquest, who questioned whether there was some trickery in the budget numbers. The state minister for finance said any trickery on the Christie administration's part would be pointless, highly embarrassing, and damaging to the country's reputation.
More troublesome, though, Mr. Speaker, is the insinuation in his comments that the government is willfully engaged in the inappropriate manipulation of the fiscal data as a means of presenting a more favorable portrait of the nation's public finances. Mr. Speaker, I have no reservation in saying that such statements and insinuations are simply preposterous. They are mischievous for the sake of political gain, and they are irresponsible.
During his 2015-2016 budget communication last week, Prime Minister Christie said his administration was able to reduce the deficit by $342 million and expects to collect $100 million more in revenue in the upcoming fiscal year than projected. However, Turnquest said government's economic projections are overly optimistic, and the Christie administration is celebrating the implementation of value-added tax at the expense of middle-income and poor Bahamians. Halkitis slammed the F&M deputy leader's criticisms as nothing more than egregious misconceptions and mischievous statements.
And so you have seen us change the way that we classify certain things in the budget. Line items, some things have been collapsed and included in one item. It's all with a view, Mr. Speaker, to improve the utility of the information that we have. Mr. Speaker, it's not in any way meant to hide anything, Mr. Speaker. The deputy leader's so-called fiscal trickery would be pointless and could be highly embarrassing and damaging to the Bahamas' hard-earned reputation as being fiscally responsible.
Halkitis also took exception to Turnquest's claim that the 2015-2016 budget is misleading and government is trying to obscure certain items. In other news, it's been more than 3 months since government officials revealed that the BAMSI dorm destroyed by fire in January was not insured. However, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Hubert Chipman, says they are no closer to getting the information they requested in April. Jasmine Brown tells us more.
Chipman revealed today that the PAC's investigation into the BAMSI debacle has hit a major roadblock.
We're in limbo. We're really in limbo.
Chipman says the PAC reached out to Minister of Works and Urban Development Philip Brave Davis, as well as Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries V. Alfred Gray, requesting information on 13 items.
At the time, we requested information on BAMSI, the number of contracts, the contractors, various things in that letter. And I think it was safe to say it's about 13 items that we had requested. The Minister of Works, which is the Honorable Brave Davis, he acknowledged the letter, and in that letter he said at the time that he would provide us with the necessary information. He would provide us about 9 items, and he said at the time in the letter that the Honorable Alfred Gray would provide us with the additional information. It has been 3 months. We haven't heard anything since then. I asked him about it recently, but there's very little response.
Despite the setbacks, Chipman says the PAC is still forging ahead with its investigation, although he admits that he doesn't expect much to happen over the next month during the ongoing 2015-2016 budget debate.
I suspect nothing will probably happen for another month.
A male dorm at the BAMSI campus was destroyed by fire in January. On February 25th, Davis told Parliament his advice was that the contractor Audley Hanna had everything that was required to do work with his ministry, including contractors' all-risk insurance, but that the insurance coverage had elapsed due to project delays. However, in March, Davis said files revealed the building was never insured. Davis also tabled documents including the letter of intent, contract, and insurance certificates on file at the Ministry of Works with Paradigm Construction. Chipman says given the magnitude of the project and the lingering questions, the PAC is still insisting a hearing on the matter be broadcasted nationally. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Still to come, why KB is slamming Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival again. Find out more after this break.